Okay, I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. The first item we have is assignment for request for council action. We have for the Finance Committee 1948 budget amendments, 1949 then and now for Huntington Bank for the municipal court, 1950 amendment to contract with Ohio Regional Development Corp. for the fiscal year 2018 CHIP grant, 1951 fitness room addition letter of engagement, and 1952 request for real estate swap. Okay, the next item we have is Hope Recovery Center introduction and presentation by Mr. Hilbert. Right.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. My name is Brian Hilbert. I think most of you know me. Thank you, Mr. Rose, for getting us on the agenda tonight.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Council, for your time. I'd like to start just with a quick question. How many people here know somebody, whether it be a coworker, family member, acquaintance, that has struggled with drug or alcohol addiction? So I think it's pretty safe to say that everybody, most or if not everybody, knows somebody that has struggled with addiction. I want to take a moment to introduce you to a few people. Kevin Gardner, Randy Pierpoint, Jenny Hoff, Jerry English, Daphne Ayers. Is that everybody? All these individuals that I just introduced have are in recovery from some form of substance abuse addiction. They've either known a family member or lived a personal experience. Hope Recovery Community is a recovery community organization whose mission is dedicated to increasing sustained recovery by providing hope, support, advocacy, and resources to those impacted by addiction. All the individuals that I just introduced have positions on our board of directors or on our advisory council for Hope Recovery. Also with us tonight is Philip Titterington from the Medina County Admin Board, and Stephanie Robinson, Executive Director for Hope Recovery. And Stephanie is going to take a few minutes to tell you about HRC, what we do, what we're planning, and what our vision is.
A little bit about me. I'm 10.5 years clean from drugs, alcohol, and an eating disorder. So I have my own personal experience. I got clean and then I came back to Medina 10.5 years ago. And there wasn't a lot for those in recovery post-treatment. There wasn't a lot of places to go and connect into community. There was meetings and things, but there wasn't a pro-social network. And I always thought like we needed more. And over the past several years, been working on getting more. Hope Recovery Community is an RCO, so it's a recovery community organization. That means our board of directors is made up of the majority of people with lived experience. So it's using people in recovery or impacted by addiction to serve those in recovery or impacted by addiction. And then we also have community allies. We have been meeting since the fall of 2018. We started September 1st was our first meeting. We got organized and we said we're going to start a nonprofit. So currently we have a board of directors with 11 members. 82% of those are in recovery. We have an advisory council of 12, 75% in recovery, along with our advisory council, which we're really thrilled about. We have a senior from Brunswick High School, so really using the youth to be able to develop some youth initiatives. The whole idea of the organization is to provide wraparound services for those impacted by addiction, so those people can start to learn to live life again, to dream again, to be able to contribute and be, successful members of society. So we're looking to help people with life skills, with financial planning, with parenting, with relationship help family members. We currently have over 85 years of lived experience on our board of directors and our advisory council, and we have committees formed and active. We have a governance committee, policy, advocacy, fundraising, and finance. Currently, what we are doing is our main programming is we host a weekly Saturday night dinner. So every Saturday night at 5:30 at Cornerstone Chapel, we host a recovery meal. We're serving about 105 on average every single week. So those in recovery, family members and community members. We held an overdose event this past year along with the New Year's party. We had upwards of 200 at each of those events. Again, just promoting recovery, promoting advocacy, promoting awareness. We have resource tables at everything we do, so it's really to connect people into community resources as well. What we're most excited about is in partnership with the Autumn Board, we will be opening the Highland House location, so where the current Children's Center is. We'll be moving in this spring. Don't have an exact date. Spring in Ohio can be a lot of things, so we'll just go with spring.
July.
Right, Philip? So we're dependent upon the East Smith construction for the Children's Center. So we will be moving into that property this spring, and that will serve as a recovery playground, a place where people can go to connect into community, a safe option for people to get support that they need, to get the education they need, to connect into local resources that already exist. And we're really looking forward to that. And the key to that is that we're going to integrate peers. So using those in recovery to serve other people in recovery, using family members that have been impacted by addiction to serve other family members with addiction. So that's kind of the programming, what it's looked like since last September and what's to come. We're also strong in advocacy. It's our goal to really work at the national, state, and local level. This February, we sent 6 members down for an advocacy day, and in 2 weeks, we'll send several more down for another advocacy day. Our local representatives want to hear the voice of recovery, which is an awesome thing to be able to be invited to that table and be able to share our opinions on funding issues, on programming issues, and how we can make an impact at the local level. We've had significant community support besides serving over 100 each week. We have partnered with Heroes Over Heroin, which is a Cloverleaf High School student group. We've received $1,700 in donations from them. And we were presented a check, a donation of $50,000 from Heartland Church. Several weeks ago, they raised $80,000 for the local recovery community, and we received 50 of that. We're looking to partner, we'll partner with both churches, local groups, and we're really looking to have strong community collaborations as we move forward. So we just wanted to kind of do a, this is who we are, and this is what's coming, a conversation today. And I don't know if anybody has any questions. I can answer those.
Questions, anybody?
If somebody would need your services, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Today we just have a Facebook page, but we're about to launch our website, which will have all of our contact information, all of our literature and phone numbers. We were just discussing phone lines. We're hoping the house will have daily hours. It might start off modified, but there will be a website link, a social media link, email, and just a landline as well. And then we'll utilize the crisis line number as well for people that after hours need support.
Now, where was this house again?
It's on Highland Drive, the old
200.
Children's Center.
200 Highland.
Oh,
Yeah,
200.
200.
Right
Okay,
at the
yeah.
curve.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we developed a neighborhood pledge to that neighborhood that says any neighborhood we move into, these will be our commitments, that we're committed to safety, we're committed to professionalism, and that we're committed to open communication. So we had worked with the mayor and Mr. Rose in developing some of those guidelines, and we've talked to a lot of the neighbors to let them know and to answer any questions they may have. We're going to be holding an open house, which you will all be invited to, but we're going to let the neighborhood have first dibs on taking a look at the house and the property and coming in, and it's just kind of an open house forum where they can ask any questions that they may have.
One other question, the facility on Highland, is it going to be in-house or inpatient care, or is it just going to be like a referral?
Just like a referral, yes, so. there's
Not residential at all.
No residential, no. The only clinical service that would take place there would be peer support. So the recovery coaches that we're already using, they might use that as a facility to do that service. And we're hoping to have our staff be made up of the majority of peer supporters. So when people come in, they're talking to someone who's trained, who has a certification that can really meet their need from that first step into the door. But there will be no sleeping there, and there will be no inpatient or outpatient services at that level.
Thank you.
Yep.
I may have missed this. What, are there hours Did you say the
We don't have
hours?
the exact hours yet, but we're looking to have it be open, it might start off modified, but we want it to be open during the week and we want it to be open on the weekends. So during vulnerable times is, when we want it to be open. Right now, we're looking at the budgets, at staffing, at how that is going to exactly work, and when we'll be able to get in, and then we'll make all that information public. So we'll make it real clear when we're gonna be open. But there will be set hours, so people can know when they can drop in.
So when you get that down, though, when you get it organized, would it likely be some open hours, like after work hours?
Yes.
The evening, like
Yes.
the evening hours?
Yes.
And then some day hours
Yes.
as well, though?
And the idea is that we'll respond to the community.
Yeah.
So if the community says, this is really these are our needs, that's really our mission, is to be able to use the community to respond to their needs. So if they're saying, we want to be open, we're not going to really do anything until noon, and then we want to be open till later in the evening, then we'll try to respond to that as much as we possibly can, for sure, yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
For council's
Were you getting a
benefit.
picture of John?
No. What?
Close-up of his cheek.
Got a little bit of cheeks up.
For council's benefit, I serve on the Adam Board. Philip can add anything that he may like, but the state of Ohio and the Department of Mental Health is looking at providing capital funds for recovery to have them in the community and help build this recovery support that the Stephanie and her group are working so hard on. So the state of Ohio, my point is the state of Ohio thinks enough of it that they're putting funding behind it, which is helping then the Adam Board not have to make the entire investment
Is
ourselves.
it countywide that you're talking about? Is that the funding?
Well,
Or is
it
per
has to
jurisdiction?
meet certain criteria,
Okay.
but yeah, it's just not Medina County. But because of this, we're using some of that for the recovery house and matching it then with local Adam Board funds.
Okay. Anything else? Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for the information.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else?
Philip, do you have anything you want to say?
As Mayor had mentioned, since the Adam Board is a county-wide, we are looking at the investment and working with the Hope Recovery community. And our vision for them, and I think they share that, is you start with Medina, you build that base, which they have already proven to with their working with the churches and the faith base, and then working with the community, and then as that grows, that is a definite need. As you are aware that drugs of choice and epidemics, specific drugs change, but addiction doesn't, and we are in an addiction crisis. Peer supports and these kind of services are essential. You can never have too many or too many options. So this is just one more option that people in the community or recovery community have at their fingertips. So we're looking forward to this partnership. We're going to get them in as soon as we can. As you're well aware, there's so many moving parts that we only have so much control and it only goes so fast. So, but thank you for your time.
Brian, anything else?
You guys are always welcome any Saturday night, 5:30, Cornerstone Chapel. Visit and see what we do.
Great.
A couple of our county commissioners have attended already. Bob Finance been there. So every
Rumor
Saturday night.
has it
5:30.
March 30th, it's gonna be some good food. Just saying.
March 30th.
Sorrente.
I don't know. All right, well, thanks. Thanks for the information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you guys staying?
You can.
I'll be rude, I'm sorry.
See you, Phil.
Thank you.
We have.
Same one? Yeah,
Bill,
third year.
Are you staying?
See you, sir.
Third year.
See you, Brian.
Thank you. Maybe a
Thanks, guys.
squire.
Thanks for coming.
My multiple years. Peace
Okay.
out, guys. You can talk about the board and stuff now.
All right, we move on to the MCRC banner approval from Howard Hanna Real Estate. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is Barb Wilson's ad for Howard Hanna. This is the last available spot on the track railing that she's purchasing. So then we'll move on to the field house and get more sponsors up to date. It's over $10,000 that have been put in the capital fund with this project. That's pretty much paid for the slide repair we just did last year at the end of last year of $14,575. So we're we're looking forward to more.
Questions? This went through the,
Rec advisory and the school board's already approved it.
I have a question, since you're here. So when you determine if an ad is suitable or not, right? What would make an ad, what's the criteria for that?
Well, there's 3 boards that look at it, including the rec advisory board,
Yeah,
then you guys in the schools.
right, I know that, but I mean, so what are you judging it by? I mean, if I looked at that ad and I said, okay, I don't really like that, I don't like that firm.
Offensive, it can't be offensive, you don't want it to refer to any, drugs or alcohol, anything to that effect. Greg kind of went through a list of things that we want to avoid, some specifics too, so.
Okay, so I mean, so that's it, so I mean, that ad is not offensive, it doesn't refer to drugs or alcohol, it's not a strip joint, it's not any of those things. So what are we actually deciding here tonight?
You're just approving that we can allow that ad to be in the rec center.
When we
So all
pass-
three boards.
Yeah, I remember, it just, it never was clear to me what if I wanted to say no, what am I saying no on?
That you don't want that ad.
Yeah, I mean,
So we wanted to have all 3 boards have the opportunity, and if the rec advisory hadn't recommended it to the school board and the council, then it wouldn't go up. If the school board didn't want it, and they said no, even if the city wanted it, it wouldn't go up. And if the city council, or a majority of them, said they didn't want it, then it wouldn't go up. So it really gives us 3 different chances of review.
so then, I mean, you could just vote no based on, I don't like that ad.
That's correct.
That's what it would be, okay.
You may not like Ms. Wilson's picture, or you may think that this language will help keep you on the fast track. Their track is stupid. If you feel that way, you could vote no on this. You have discretion.
Thank you.
And each one, obviously, every ad has gone through the same review process.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
okay,
Mr. President,
Mr. Shu?
since this goes into a fund that benefits both the schools and the city, and I work for the schools, I'm suggesting.
Okay.
Move to
approve. Who's the second most senior? That-
You go.
You got a second? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, 1919-048, budget amendments. We have the 2019 police vehicles. Keith?
Chief Kinney spoke to why this is, at last meeting, I believe it was, on the car, but they had a PO last year, and then they weren't able to purchase a car, so we need a new PO.
Questions?
Just one correction in the actual request. I think it's the one that looks like this, request for approval. I don't know if yours got corrected or not, but the second line where it says purchase in, should be 2018, not 19. Because that's what happened, is it was a 2018 PO, and we're changing it.
Oh, okay, okay,
That was just a typo. I talked to Lori about it. I told him I'd let you know when I got down here.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 1949, then and now for Huntington Bank for the mini court. Keith?
This was a purchase of office furniture and so on. It probably would ordinarily have been covered under the blanket, but it was the beginning of the year, so they didn't have it.
This was done in 18, because this is October 31st, 18?
That's the quote.
Oh, that's the quote was in 18. All right,
That's my understanding, anyway.
I guess did they just buy it and this, I mean, I guess, have you spoken with them?
Their court, they kind of.
Well, I mean, you're still gonna follow the process.
Yeah, you should.
Well, just follow up with, I forgot, whoever.
Has
the
the
new-
process been explained, Keith?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just follow up one more time and we'll get that straight out.
So Keith, did you say it was furniture?
If you look at the invoice, it's conference table.
Pencil drawer?
Okay. But then how does Huntington Bank enter into this?
Because they, on the credit card.
Oh,
Or we bought it on a credit card?
Okay.
Bookshelves? Okay.
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
My second includes the emergency clause?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 1950, amend contract with the Regional Development Corp. for the fiscal year TIP grant. Jonathan?
Yes, thank you. This is to amend our agreement that we have with ORDC, which is the consultant for implementation of our CHIP program. We were originally applied to the state for $700,000 in grant funding. The city was awarded a lesser amount, $647,700. So we needed to adjust to the various distribution of money between the city and the consultant in the agreement accordingly. So that's all this is. It's housekeeping item to just make sure they're all inconsistent with each other with the POs and everything else as we audit this along the way. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
Mr. President. Jonathan, why was the award amount less than request?
Because we did not hit a couple basic smaller milestones in the distribution and spending of the money in the previous cycle, which was also the case with, I think, like 40% of the other communities in the state. So the state of Ohio has adjusted those milestones to be more reasonable to what actually can happen in reality. So that's why it was reduced, because we didn't meet milestones that we agreed to, even though the state has subsequently said, oh, those weren't very good milestones, we agree. So that's why.
Do you have an example of one of these milestones?
It's something like you gotta have at least spent 3 out of the 12 home rehabilitations within 9 months of the beginning of the grant, something like that. Okay. And CHIP is notorious, it's always been notorious where nothing, and then boom, there's a whole bunch. So it's one of those items that we got dinged for, but we weren't the only ones in
Dinged
the
for
state.
something totally out of your control.
Pretty much.
Other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 1951 fitness room addition letter of engagement, and I believe it's an LOI, a letter of understanding or a letter of intent. Both.
Two.
Yeah. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. President. So yes, it's 2 items and then actually an update too. So the letter of intent was approved through the school board, and Ron Ross is here, president of the school board now. Maybe he wants to comment on it in a few minutes. And then it's been approved through Greg Huber, so that's good. All that's moving forward. And the letter of engagement, the letter of engagement of Bob Arnold to do the architectural work for the new fitness room and everything else included. I've talked with engineer Pat and Dan, of course, in regards to Bob being the construction manager for this project, which the city doesn't normally do. But in this case, they both agreed that if it was a good enough rate that he was charging for that service, that would be beneficial for us. He's done construction management on all the other projects that we've had, including the balcony. So ideally, for that rate of $39.8, I think is what it is in the contract, compared to what the cost is, it's about 6% he's charging, which is reasonable.
Has further discussion occurred regarding what we talked about the last meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
With the roof, yes, that's the update. I'm sorry, did you want to go with that?
Sure.
Talk about that now. Bob's here now, so we can talk about the contract. If you have any questions or the adjustment to the roof.
Yeah, you're talking about the drainage issue on the structure?
Yes.
Yes, I did take a look at it, and I have just a little sketch here of it. The roof coming down from the rec center. This is the new roof on the addition. This was the part in question. I'm able to take the roof from the new construction and run it straight on up at the same slope as that roof. It'll go about 18 feet up, and I did find a detail for down up here, which is one of the questions, the big questions I had was how you go from a metal roof to a membrane roof. And I have found some details through Firestone that they do that. So it's, I just have to work out exactly how it's done, but the detail, it will work, and it'll keep any snow, any water, actually will drain off then over the new addition then, so we will not have that depression in there anymore.
Would you keep the roof underneath just there, or would you remove it?
That's still a question to me. I'm not sure exactly what we're actually looking at doing, because this is adding about a little over $40,000 to the project because of the additional roofing area. And so what we're actually looking is possibly if we can lower this, I'm going to put my hand on this side, you can't see over here. If we can lower the addition, or the ceiling down in the new addition,
right.
Every inch we lower, it brings it down the roof a little bit further,
sure.
It makes less square footage. So
So instead of a 14-foot ceiling, maybe a 12-foot ceiling, which
Yeah.
is what the fitness room ends at now, a 12-foot
Yeah,
ceiling.
that would take it down pretty low, so.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, because that would probably save in the cost of, you're gonna have those issues, it probably cost more than $40,000.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, 'cause water.
Yeah.
Now, what was the slope on that, did you say right now? I mean, what's the rise on?
I usually go with a 1/4 inch per foot on membrane roofs. They say you can go to 1/8 per foot, but I like a 1/4, it's a lot better.
Good. Good. Any questions on that?
Any questions on it? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's good. Oh, makes sense. Ron?
Ron, any comments? No?
Honestly, I don't have any comments, just in case you had questions, that's what I'm here.
And it went through the school board, the letter of intent with the one modification from the
No,
attorney?
Not yet.
Not yet. But the one modification with the attorney for the school board,
It was sent this morning, I
Yes.
believe, to the mayor.
So for council's benefit, that is number 15, the last sentence. In 15, it states all other provisions of the ground lease and operating agreement remain viable and intact. So that, only that sentence was changed from the original letter of intent. And I I emailed Aaron Sable, the superintendent of the schools. His preference would be if we would bring this to finance, have council authorize it, and then the school board would then authorize it after that.
do you have any questions about that addition?
Just a comment, I need to abstain since ultimately the school district will own the building and have plans for them.
Question?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, thanks for the information, thanks for the help. 1952, requested real estate swap. That was both of them. We have to do separate ordinances?
Oh, you didn't want to talk about the letter of intent, okay.
But I think that was included in the.
We did both.
He just did it, yeah.
As long as you're okay with their vote on both.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
I just didn't know if that included it.
Yeah, it was both of them together.
If you wanted to talk about that more.
1952, request for real estate swap. Who's handling this?
I think I am.
On there?
Let me catch up with you here.
Okay.
So this is a request for council to transfer or land exchange of .629 acres of the city of Medina owned real property at 625 Bowman Lane. I think in the ordinance it actually goes by city lot number versus street address. But we're all familiar with Bowman Lane and what it's being used by the schools for. And as well as 6.629 acres of real estate at 347 North Huntington Street, which is owned by the Medina City Schools Board of Education. And the purpose is the real estate swap is mutually beneficial for the city's purpose of enlarging Ray Mallard Park on the North Huntington Street parcel for the city and operating a home-based program for students with special needs on the Bowman Lane parcel pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 3313.40. So in essence, this is the same process that the city and the schools used when we accepted the Bowman Lane property from the schools in exchange for the land on East Reagan Parkway where Northrop Elementary School was built. And we're just asking council's blessing to do that again for the purposes mentioned herein.
And I remember the ordinance that was prepared talked about the house, and we're going to have a reasonable period of time to have Mrs. Sharp determine the relocation of the structure.
On North Huntington Street?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Actually, we added that provision in here. It's section 3. We added the last sentence that states the house located on North Huntington Street property. What the school will pay for the demolition of the house located on North Huntington Street unless another arrangement to relocate the house to another parcel of land within a reasonable amount of time is successful. So we thought that would cover that. And again, we don't want to hold it forever, but we want to be reasonable. We also know that Jansen's interest is to try to obtain a grant to do the parking lot, and that may not, first the application of the grant, second the awarding of the grant, would likely make the parking lot project not not happen until 2020 at the earliest. So that being said, I think we can be reasonable in holding the property that long to give an adequate amount of time for these folks to see if they do find a spot for it. The other thing I ask is Nino to transfer the utilities, because there's a sump pump that needs to continue running, so rather than shut the utilities off and then have unneeded damage to the house, the city is assuming the utilities from this point forward.
Questions?
If we get a grant sooner than that, it comes around more soon, will that make us increase the time, or will we still wait till 2020?
Chanson, is it even possible to get it sooner?
The very earliest would be 2020.
Okay.
But, yeah, there's no way it would happen any sooner than that.
That's what he told me.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I just want to be clear with the reasonable amount of time to find a location. Do you mean sometime in 2019 or say by March 31st, 2020? Just so I have a frame of time in my mind.
No, the reason the wording was selected is it gives the city and those trying to find an opportunity to move it some discretion, but we didn't want to lock ourselves into a particular date and time.
But it seems like it depends on how long it takes to get the grant. I mean, if you don't
Right.
get the grant in 2020 because you're pushed out to, beginning of 2021, I mean, there's no reason to do anything until you get the grant, because you can't.
Right. Yeah, the only thing from the city's perspective, that, that eventually, if it's not going to be moved, then the school's going to demolish it, or the fire department's going to use it for a practice burn, whatever happens. And the city is also liable and responsible for it, for the period of time that it's up. And, somebody breaks into it or whatever, then we have that issue too. So, it's kind of a balance between trying to be reasonable and helpful, but still not owning it forever.
Maybe want to put a deadline on it. Just, I mean, if it becomes liability for the city too being there too long, but say a year, and that may also help incentivize people to get moving if they want to get moving.
Well, I guess I look at it as the incentive. I mean, if there's some damage to the house or some vandalism that occurs, I mean, that'll change the perspective. If it doesn't happen, then it's not an issue, but if it starts happening, then it changes the perspective and it becomes an issue, because how do you have to protect it? I mean, I guess the incentive would be, hopefully, Mrs. Sharp would use all due diligence to try to come up with a solution or a organization that will help contribute or help move or do whatever. And the other question is, what part of the house is going to move? Because it's not all old. There's a lot of additions on it.
It actually is all old.
Because the outside doesn't...
Yeah, no, it didn't look like it, did it?
No.
That's a summer kitchen.
But they changed the outside, I would imagine.
Well, it's covered with...
What is that?
It's been re-sided, but there's the house that looks like, okay, it looks like that's the original house.
Right.
Then there's like a wing.
Right.
Which, when you drive by, I thought, well, that was an addition.
Right?
That was not an addition, that was a summer kitchen.
Oh.
So that, which is typical to have, but the siding's changed.
Yeah, because I think the siding makes it look a lot.
Well, there's I can't think what they're called, but if you take the siding down, there's, the architect's here, I guess he knows, there's a straight up, like the corners of the house have a board like that's straight up on the corners of that architecture. There's a bunch of houses kind of like this one in town that you can look at that haven't been sided. You can really see what it would look like if you did restore the outside. It was surprising to me that that building on the left-hand side, if you face it, is part of the original house. So when you look at the structure of the house, you're like, yep, that is all original. And in great shape, by the way. Absolutely incredible shape. Solid as a rock.
I just have a question not related to the vote, but I don't know what a summer kitchen is. I've never heard that before.
People built, because of when you cooked a lot, you had to have a stove going all the time.
Right.
And it was, and if you have a wood stove, it heats the whole room, and you can't, it's on. And so they had what we call summer kitchens, were somewhat separate from the living quarters in the house. And they were were not always walled in even. There was an open area where you could cook, and that way you weren't heating up your whole house. Yeah, that's what was a summer kitchen.
Thank you.
Well, absolutely.
Never heard of that before.
So is a winter kitchen in the house?
No, John.
Just figured you want to heat the whole house, you got the winter kitchen inside, so. Any other questions?
No, just a comment, obviously, it's equally beneficial to the schools and the city, but I think to avoid any appearance of a conflict, I'm going to abstain on this one, too.
Wow, you got a record today.
It's a lot of good things going on between the city and the schools.
Great. Any other questions? Okay.
Move to approve the emergency clause?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, looks like that's the complete agenda. Is anything else before we recess into executive session? Anything to come before the finance committee? Okay.
I make a motion at 6:34 to go into executive session for the purpose to consider the purchase of property for public purposes because premature disclosure of information will give an unfair competitive bargaining advantage to a person whose personal or private interest is adverse to the public interest. It's going to include Pat Patton, Greg Hubert, and Mayor Hamwell.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Oh, we got a second.
Oh,
Oh, second.
clerk, please call the roll.
Bill, I mean, Lynn.
You got really informal.
Lynn,
Yes.
Starcher.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We'll be recessing in executive session to discuss land acquisition, reconvening into finance, take no action on what we discussed in the executive session, and then to adjourn from finance to move on to council. We are recessed.